Hello, I'm Brandon Martini, a commercial pilot and flight instructor.
And I'm Carson Vasquez. I'm a private pilot.
And you're listening to the Aviation Mentors Podcast, sponsored by Stratus Financial.
So buckle up, because the Aviation Mentors are taking off.
Welcome back, everybody, to a milestone that we've been working on for over a year now. Welcome to our 100th episode. So not just a great and fantastic episodes of the Aviation Mentors Podcast, the greatest and the best episode of the Aviation Mentors Podcast, our 100th episode. I can't believe that we finally got here, Carson. A year ago, almost today, or a year and 1 month ago, 13 months ago to be exact, on the date that this episode is going to come out, we were sitting and talking about, actually even a little bit earlier than that, we were sitting and talking about the concept of the Aviation Mentors Podcast and how we can bring this into a reality. And I'm really happy that we finally got here to 100 episodes. And don't worry, everybody, we're not going anywhere. We're looking forward to the next 100 episodes. But this has been so much fun. Carson, what do you think about this? I can't believe we actually got here.
I think it's an amazing milestone. From the day that you said, "Hey, let's do a podcast." Like, I've always wanted to start a podcast and have my own podcast. To the point that we're at 100 episodes, we've both grown. We've both learned a lot and developed our skills and our talents, and just had so many cool people we've talked to and so many cool things we've done. And I think it's phenomenal that we've achieved this goal. It's a huge, huge goal. And it takes me back to all the times that we didn't want to do a podcast because we're absolutely dead tired or we're feeling sick. And we're like, hey, we're going to do a podcast. And those days ended up being our best episodes. The ones that we're dying and we're tired and we're not feeling it. Those ended up being like our favorite episodes. We finished those ones and we hit stop recording. And we're like, wow, that was a great episode. Like, I had a really great time. Good job. So
I know
it's a good goal.
It was a cool goal to have. So everybody listening, I wanted to do 100 episodes in 12 months. And when we first started out, we started releasing one episode a week, if any of you have been around since the very beginning. And then I said, we got to ramp this up, Carson. We need to hit 100 episodes in a year. So I bet you if we went and did the math and figured out when we switched over from doing one episode a week to 2 episodes a week, I bet you we're really, really close, because I don't know if I think we might have only missed 1 or 2 weeks with 2 episodes in it. I think there might be 1 or 2 weeks that actually had 3 or more, like during Oshkosh or during Sun and Fun or something like that. So it's really, really amazing that we finally hit this. And like Carson and I were talking about, this really started out as a dream of mine several years ago. I wanted to do a podcast on aviation because it's something that I really cared about and I loved. But the problem was I didn't think back then I had enough experience. I didn't know enough about the industry. I didn't make the connections yet. So I put it on pause for several years. After listening to all the other podcasts out there and having fun with one of our friends, Mike Harris, and several other people, I just wanted to do this. And I felt like last year, in the beginning of the year, was about the time to do it. And I was thinking to myself that I didn't want to just do it on my own. I didn't want to be there by myself talking, although I enjoy talking, as you can see, obviously. I wanted to do it with somebody, and I wanted to do it with somebody who cared about aviation as much as I do, and who had a drive and a passion and wasn't afraid of doing hard work, and who seemed dependable. And for some reason, I thought that was Carson. I don't know why.
Yeah, I thought you were saying too much nice stuff there. Hold on.
Yeah, I had to come up and take a little bit. No, I'm just kidding. But no, Carson seemed to be the perfect person to do this with me. So I reached out to him and I said, hey, what do you think about this? And he said, I don't know. I got to think about it a little bit. And I said, well, I need to know in a few days. And I think it was the next morning. He calls me up and said, okay, I'm in. And that's what I loved about Carson. He's like, he thinks about things, which is good. You need to think about things, especially being a pilot. You need to be a little analytical, but you make a decision fast. There's no lollygagging around. You can't just wait around to make a decision like this, even though it's going to take a lot of time. And believe it or not, this takes a lot of time out of both of our days. We spend probably 4 hours a week on this. And that doesn't sound like a lot of time, but we're both
a tenth of your week.
Yeah, we're both full-time professionals, and we work like 80 hours a week in addition to doing this. So it's pretty incredible that we fit this in and we make sure that we make time for it, because it's important to me, and looks like it might be important to Carson too.
It's extremely important to me. I mean, how many late nights have we had where it's like 8 o'clock at night and then we start doing an episode? Just so we can get one in.
I mean, I think the latest we ever did it was almost 11 p.m. and I was like, I'm so dead tired right now. Why are we doing this? It's like, because we're not going to miss our cadence. So So we ended up doing it right late at night, and I've gotten back from traveling on a trip, and we just do it as soon as I get back from a trip or right before. Like I'm going to be gone for 2.5 weeks, so we're scrambling to try to get a few episodes in. I might even do one from episode from Asia if Carson and I can work this out, which would be pretty neat in the next few weeks. But you guys will hear about that soon enough. But
When are you going to Asia?
I leave on the 1st, and I'm come back on the 10th.
Got it. All right. That's like 10 days without a boss. 10 days to get episodes done.
Yeah, I'm gonna be almost 12 hours ahead, so it'll be an interesting time on how I'm gonna get work done.
Just some more 11 p.m. episodes.
That it's really going to be legitimately 11 p.m. episodes for me and like 12 noon for you.
Yeah, it'll be great. But do you remember all the times that we were working on the episode after I said yes? Remember how much work that took to make it a reality? It started way before Oshkosh, but at Oshkosh too.
I mean, we were talking about it before Oshkosh. We were talking about with the marketing department. We were trying to throw up ideas. We didn't know what we were going to name this. It turned out to be Aviation Mentors. I don't know, Carson, if you can look up what our original concepts were. That's kind of a fun one. I know that we looked at pilot mentors. We looked at several other concepts, and just none of them seemed to fit what we were doing. We wanted it really to talk about everything that we love and everything that we know about aviation and what this industry is about. And we also want to connect people to the rest of the aviation world. So Carson just flagged me. I think he might know what some of the episode name or some of the original concept names were. What were they?
Yeah, so I just found the document that had it. And it's a 20-page document that we'd put together of everything, like our entire podcast idea binder.
It was that big, huh?
Yeah. So it started out with Fly Guy Podcast, Just Plain Radio, Pilot Path, Skies Audio, Flying Ace, Flight FM, Pilot Pitch, Adventures in Aviation, and the one we settled on was Aviation Mentors. And I think we're just trying to find like what our goal, like what our mission was with the podcast, and not limit us.
What's funny about some of those things, like you said, Just Plain Radio was on there. By the way, we had our marketing department like looking into things. They didn't already realize there was a Just Plain Radio even out there, which is an amazing podcast, by the way. I don't talk about many other podcasts on this one in particular, but Just Plain Radio is fantastic. And their intro and their outro is world class. So if you guys listen to us ever, just know that we look up to you. We think that your stuff is amazing. They sound just like a radio station. It's really fantastic. So Just Plain Radio is amazing. But yeah, those were some of our concept ideas. I can't even believe how terrible some of those were. I mean, they're trash.
Oh yeah, you should see the taglines. They were a million times worse. So I hope you guys.
What were some of the taglines, Carson?
Let me pull that back up. I could tell you they weren't fantastic. It's kind of funny to look back at them now after we've got things rolling. Making the world safe for aviation nerds. That wasn't mine. We've got fuel. It's not rocket science. It kind of is rocket science if you think about the aerodynamics. Fly safe, fly often. Wherever you fly knowing. Happy takeoff and happy landings. So some of them weren't terrible, but some of them were not great.
Yeah. We're not going to even announce all of them because some of them were absolutely trash. But yeah, so we went through that 18-page document that Gradle actually put together. She was our marketing manager at the time for Stratus Marketing, and she was able to put that whole thing together along with what our colors could be. We looked at different color codes. Obviously, you all know that we picked teal and kind of green turquoise color as our main color, and that was 100% Brandon decision. That's my favorite color. I love green. I love that teal turquoise color. So I'll take credit for the turquoise color. There's lots of other stuff that Carson can take credit for. I think he picked the taglines. And then I think together we both picked Aviation Mentors Podcast as the name, which was I feel like fitting for us. And it's kind of worked out so far so good. But I don't know if you remember how we started with all that. So we had the concept. We went over to the marketing department, talked to them about it. We had several meetings with them. They gave us some ideas based on our ideas. We put it all together, color concepts, all this other stuff. And then we had to figure out, okay, now we have this concept done. Well, how the heck?
That was the easiest part.
Yeah, that was like the easiest part. I mean, it was like design and marketing. Like that's stuff we're good at. I mean, I know how to do that stuff. recording on a radio station, I've never recorded anything in my life. I've recorded a video of myself talking about learning how to fly at a flight school, and it was terrible. And if I look at it nowadays, I think it's absolutely atrocious. And
Okay, glad we agree on that one.
Thank you. Maybe, hey, it generated a lot of leads, like probably $1 million in leads, by the way, Carson, for my horrible video.
I know, it could have been like 4 or 5 if it was just a little bit better.
That's also probably pretty true, to be honest. But yeah, so we decided, okay, we don't know what to use to record. And I remember that Mike Harris told me when I recorded on his podcast back in 2016, he said, just use your iPhone and record it. It's like, are you serious? Okay, fine. So I think I don't know if we recorded on the iPhone or did we record on a laptop? Do you remember? I know we were sitting in that trailer, but that was it.
It was on a laptop. We didn't have mics. We didn't know what kind to get. Definitely didn't have headsets. And we were just going off of the laptop microphones.
That was really terrible. You know what?
It was terrible enough we decided not to post that one. We didn't record our first official one until we came back.
Yeah, we were trying really hard to figure out how to make it sound good. And the first few episodes, I mean, we didn't even know what we were going to say. Like the "Hello, I'm Brandon Martina, commercial pilot, flight instructor." That didn't come out of my mouth. That we didn't tell you who you were listening to for Aviation Mentors Podcast. The buckle up before we take off thing that kind of came on this conversation we had at Oshkosh. And plus, we probably had a beer. Well, maybe you didn't because you don't drink, but I definitely did. So it was a different type of conversation. It was a pretty hilarious one, but I mean, it was a really fun time to learn to make a podcast. I mean, we were just having so much fun, just enjoying ourselves, trying to create what has turned into the Aviation Mentors Podcast.
Well, we spent, at least 72 hours straight, 72 consecutive hours on the road from California to Wisconsin, just trying. And we came up with nothing. We're sitting next to each other, driving, taking turns, and nothing was coming out right. And even sitting at that table in the trailer, trying to record the intro and the episode for the first time, it was coming out terrible. We didn't know how to speak to nobody. It was really weird.
Yeah, it was odd. So then finally we figured out we just need to talk to each other. And during the first few episodes, either mine or Carson's eyes, because we do this a lot via Zoom, even if we're together, but our eyes will go to somewhere else on our computer screen. And before I would tell Carson, hey, I can't figure out how to do this. I need you to continue to look at me. So I look and I feel like I'm talking to somebody, and I couldn't concentrate if you look away. It was really odd.
It wasn't just that. Brandon was getting upset. He was like, listen, you need to focus. Just stop being on your phone. I was like, Brandon, no, I'm not. I'm split screen, bud. I'm looking at the notes.
It was, I thought he wasn't focused, so I couldn't be focused, and we had to edit all that out. It was really comedy. And luckily now he can look at his phone or show notes. Like right now he's looking down at show notes, and I can still talk just fine. And my phone is going off right now, and I can just look down and just look around and ignore it. And luckily I've learned to do that skill, and so is Carson, but it was not like that before. It was really difficult.
Well, we even got so good we're able to record a podcast where we weren't looking at each other. His internet connection was so bad there was a 4-second delay from him speaking to me hearing the words. And hopefully you guys can't even pick out what episode that was. So
yeah, hopefully not. I mean, I don't even remember what episode that was, but that was a tough one to do for sure. So we started sitting in that RV. We came up with this concept, and you know what it took? It took us being at Oshkosh for a few days, took us being immersed in aviation, immersed in pilots, and immersed with the love of all of our friends around us for us to come up with that concept. I mean, we had the ideas behind it, but we didn't know what to name it or how to intro it or all these other things. But it really took us being in Oshkosh. And that's what I talk about, being immersed in aviation. If you don't work in aviation right now, you just need to work in aviation and go become a pilot and do all of the things. That way everything will end up working out the way that it should. As long as you put yourself in the right places at the right time, doing the right things. And the right places and the right time was Oshkosh last year, 2022. And that was the right place at the right time. And I feel like it's kind of worked out since then. We're coming up to 50,000 episodes not episodes. That would be absolutely crazy. 50,000 downloads, which I feel like is great. Obviously I want it to be 250,000 downloads. So if everybody can download every episode 5 times, I'd really appreciate it. Thank you very much. We'd have better equipment if we had 250,000 downloads by now. Maybe not. We kind of got really good stuff at the office, at least.
Yeah, 250,000. We just have to do this whole thing 5 times over, and we'll get there. So it's not too bad.
That's true. And Carson and I also talked about once we got to 100 episodes, we were going to go to full video. We didn't quite make that goal. We also said we want to do this in a year, but I think we're probably about a month or a month and a half off. I have a lot of traveling that I've been doing the last month and over the next 3 more weeks. Austin just started school out in Huntington, where I'm picking him up and dropping him off every day. So I'm going to only be going to that office where our podcast recording studio's at on Wednesdays and Thursdays. So we're going to have to make sure we schedule the episodes and be able to record them and upload them at the show. Who knows? We might even do them live if we can actually get the cadence down and on time. But that would be really neat. So I'm going to do baby steps though. I'm going to commit to getting the video stuff done pretty soon. And then maybe we can go live maybe in 6 months. Even though the live versions would be fun. I know we've done some Facebook Live stuff in the past at Oshkosh or Sun and Fun or whatever it's been, but that was fun. But is there anything you want to add to how it was at Oshkosh?
No, I think it was just the right place and the right time. We're the right people to do it. And tell you one thing, so I could just go start my own podcast. You can, but it takes a lot to ensure that quality of the podcast is going to actually be there. Otherwise, no one's just going to listen to you talk. You have to have something to talk about. You have to have something down. You can't just be you talking. So I think,
by the way,
the right recipe.
Yeah, something to talk about is really difficult, by the way. We've sat so many times and thought, I don't have anything to talk about. Like, what's our concept today? Or what's our concept in a few days? And we're like we even use ChatGPT to come up with episode ideas when we were in like 10 and 20 episodes thinking, we can't come up with any more episodes. And what's funny now is we probably have maybe 20 episodes that we want to do content on or people have reached out to us on. So what's really funny is when we had 20 episodes out, it was really hard to figure out what the content was going to be. And now that we have 100 episodes out, it's become easier to figure out what that content is going to be. So, I mean, it's been nice. So there's one person I actually want to mention on this episode today. This person is very special to me and Carson and the entire Stratus family. And that's Natalie. Natalie has been a contributor to the Aviation Mentor podcast since day one. She was our first editor. She's our current editor again. She has helped out with this podcast from day in and day out whenever we've needed it. She works hard hours at it. She's learned new skills to help us with this. And she's been fantastic. And there's a big congratulations goes out to her. She just got married just a few days ago too, and we got to see the pictures, and she looked beautiful with her husband in the picture. So, congrats to Natalie on getting married, and thank you so much for helping us at the Aviation Mentors podcast for this past entire year or a little plus.
We absolutely could not have done it without you, Natalie. I don't know if Brandon has ever explained it, but we tried doing a little bit of editing, just a little bit of voice, nothing video, just a tiny bit of audio. We could not do it. we absolutely couldn't. And Natalie, you're an expert. You do it in only a couple hours from start to finish, and that's phenomenal. So I really appreciate your help, and Brandon does too. So.
And I also wanted to say thank you to all of our partner schools and the borrowers at Stratus Financial that have helped really bring this to fruition. I know Stratus has about 150 partner schools now. When we first started this, there was a lot less than that. And I know they're growing exponentially every month now with the partner school side. But thank you to all the partner schools that have posted our flyers in their schools or shown the podcast to their students, either borrowers or non-borrowers. We really appreciate that. We couldn't have really been to this point without you. And thank you to all the borrowers at Stratus. Without you, I don't believe that we would be able to help you obtain your aviation dreams, and we wouldn't be able to do this podcast without you either. So thank you all for really helping us bring this to fruition. This has been kind of a dream of mine for many years, like I was saying earlier, and I'm really excited that we could keep on producing content that luckily people are still listening to. And there's some people that have been vocal about what they like and what they don't like. And I think it's great. I love that people have an opinion, and we try to give a varied perception on all things aviation. And so far it's been fun, and so far so good.
Yeah. Speaking of so far so good, Brandon, let's talk about some of the favorite episodes. So I know that you told me about a couple favorites, but why don't you tell everyone else what those favorites are?
Absolutely. I mean, I have four favorite episodes by far. My first favorite episode is the first episode that Austin was on. And he was even in our intro, which I thought was awesome. Awesome. See, awesome and Austin, they go together, right? So, and luckily he's in the other room, like 2 rooms away from me, so he didn't hear that. He'll have to listen to the podcast episode to hear it. For him to think, oh, my dad thinks I'm awesome. He'll probably get all embarrassed now. He's 12 years old. Of course, he's going to be embarrassed. But I would say the 2 episodes that I did with Austin, the one that we just did last week, and then obviously the first one, those are probably my all-time favorites. Just having him here and sharing an aviation stories with me, and because he's a part of it, it's been pretty awesome. The other one was really cool. There's actually 2 more, but the one that was kind of above all the rest was the one with my mom on the episode, the Raising a Pilot episode. That was a lot of fun. I got to tell my mom a crazy story about how I had an emergency landing in detail, and I got to see her face hearing me tell that story. She was just kind of like, oh my God, I can't believe it. And I don't know if I told her this, but she actually flew in that same airplane with me. I don't think I put 2 and 2 together. Maybe I did already talk about that, but yeah, so we flew in that same airplane like a year or so prior, and it was kind of cool telling her a story about I had emergency landing in an airplane and seeing her face and all the fun stuff that went into going with that episode. And that episode was totally off the cuff. She picked me up from the airport in Austin, Texas, and I said, I have to record an episode with Carson today. Do you want to be on it? She was like, sure. Do I have to talk? It's like, yeah, you have to talk. So she ended up being on the episode, and that was fun. And it was just really enjoyable to me. And after that, we all went swimming in the pool and hung out. It was a really cool day. We got to do that. And then my other one, as everybody knows, I've talked about Icon Aircraft a whole bunch of times in this because I'm a fan and an Icon owner. And the one we did with Kevin, just hearing about his story on how he went from just being a pilot growing up with his father all the way to being the chief test pilot with Icon Aircraft and going to the National Test Pilot School and all the things that he's done that's been absolutely phenomenal as well. So I would say those 4 episodes really stick out in my mind. All the episodes that were the most terrible are all the ones that Carson happened to be in with me, of course.
Thanks, Brandon. I appreciate that one.
You think I can get through the 100th episode without putting a joke and throwing my laughing soundboard in here? Haha, I gotcha.
Yeah, one of my favorite episodes, of course, is the one where Brandon discovered he has the soundboard. That was a pretty good one.
That was a good one.
And we didn't get tired of it either during the episode because we're messing around with it maybe 15 minutes before the episode. We're playing with every sound and doing all the stuff, and so we did not get tired of it, obviously. But my favorite for episode 1, just because of how many times we had to redo it.
And it still didn't come out great.
It still didn't. If you listen to that one versus our most recent 50 episodes, they did not sound great, and they sound totally different cadence. But you can imagine the first maybe 10 times we had to redo that episode and how that sounded. But also, we got to talk about why we are the way we are and where we got, or how we got to where we are in our journey with our first solo. And that was a really special thing to talk about. Every pilot has a first solo, and getting to share ours with everybody was a really cool experience and something we love talking about. And then also, I really loved the episode when we were talking about what's in our flight bag, because I remember digging around that episode and like pulling things out and showing Brandon as I was like going through my flight bag. And he was going through his too. So that was a pretty fun one that, was just off the cuff too. And the episodes we have there are just off the cuff and, hey, let's just talk about this today. Those always end up being one of my favorite episodes. And I love having Rich on. I think that it really, having him on just really enriches.
That's it. Well, hold on.
I'll let you do that. Thanks. They can get through an episode, especially a 100th episode, without pun. Come on.
I know. Yeah.
But just it really gives the audience, you guys, the audience. It's crazy. That's still phenomenal that we have an audience. But it gives you guys a whole different view. Aside from being a pilot and being in aviation, you get to experience what it's like to be a mechanic and hear straight from them. So I love having Rich on. It's really just a good experience for everybody.
And I have to also say, we've thanked a lot of people on this. And I have to say, I want to thank our audience the most. You're the ones who have listened to us. You're the ones who get us to do this all the time and motivate us to continue doing this, which is the biggest reason, obviously, to continue this podcast. So thank you, everybody who listens to us. Thank everybody. I'm getting goosebumps saying it. It feels weird. Thank you, everybody who's sent us emails or came out to our booths and asked Carson to take a picture with him and not me. And no, really enjoyed meeting some of you at different air shows and things like that. So thank you all for doing that and listening to us each episode. And we love getting the emails from you. And before, when we used to have our Instagram handles, we used to love getting direct messages and stuff, which was really neat. But I'm not very active on social media unless you're on LinkedIn. Add me on LinkedIn. More on that later. But thank you all for that. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, and thank you guys for trusting us enough to be your mentors and your aviation mentors, no less. It's a really special experience for all of us to be part of it, and for you guys to listen to us and trust us, and have an interest in what we say and what we want to tell you. It's just, I'm getting goosebumps too. It's really special. It's super unique to be able to speak to so many people and to be able to share your experiences and what you think is important in the aviation industry, which is huge. It sounds niche, but it's huge when you get into all the different things. Everything from different jobs in aviation to pilots, air traffic controllers, mechanics, people work at air shows. It's a huge community, and I love being a part of it. And thank you, Brandon, for being my co-host and always being on here with me, day or night.
I know, as much as I love to give trouble to Carson, he was pretty awesome guy. I really appreciate him being on here too. So enough with the lovey-dovey stuff for Carson and I. Want to just thank everybody again. And as always, if you want to reach out to either one of us, you can reach us at our emails, Brandon@aviationmentors.com, or you can reach Carson at aviationmentors.com.
And as I said, for 100 episodes, as a wrap up for the day, remember, we're here to guide you in your aviation journey and keep you super current. So fly safe and enjoy the ride.
See you guys.